Welcome back to the Digital Deep Dive. Today, we're cutting through some of the noise on a topic that really promises to completely change how we prove who we are online. Just imagine everything from, say, your healthcare appointments to your banking just being smoother, safer, and honestly far more user-friendly for you. We're talking about self-sovereign identity, or SSI. Now, that might sound a bit techy, but at its heart, it's really all about putting you squarely in control of your digital self. Our mission in this deep dive is to unpack exactly what SSI is, show you why it's not just, another piece of tech jargon, but a real strategic shift, and look at how it's already transforming entire industries.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how often our current sort of legacy identity systems, they act as this invisible drag, almost like a hidden tax on both businesses and, well, individuals like you. This deep dive, it's really going to lay bare the breaking point we've hit with these older models and hopefully introduce you to a future where your identity stops being a gatekeeper, a bottleneck, and instead starts actively accelerating value.
Okay, let's unpack that phrase, breaking point. Many industries, maybe most, are still stuck with what's often called IAM 2.0. That's identity and access management, second generation. It refers to those legacy, centralized identity systems we've all kind of learned to live with, haven't we? I mean, think about the daily frustrations you probably experience online. Forgotten passwords, again. Filling out the same repetitive forms over and over. Or, having to share way too much personal data just to get access to some simple service.
Yeah,
It's a hassle.
it really is.
And in healthcare, for instance, our research consistently highlights this urgent need for what they're calling a smarter front door.
Hmm.
These current systems, they lead to, well, sky-high maintenance costs, incredibly brittle security, and just this daily workflow drag that frustrates clinicians and patients alike. Hospitals are pouring precious IT budget into basically keeping these old systems on life support, and that's money that could and really should be going into improving actual patient care.
And the real consequences of sticking with this outdated model, they're significant. What the data consistently shows is that healthcare ends up experiencing the most expensive breaches of any industry. That's quite a statement. The old idea of a secure perimeter, that's largely gone now. Instances like stolen credentials or maybe missing multi-factor authentication, those extra login steps. They're really classic examples of how these IAM 2.0 systems just fall short. And it's not just about security, is it? Operationally, think about clinicians juggling maybe hundreds of different apps. Every single handoff between systems is a chance for delay or worse, a critical error.
And it's a similar story in financial services too, right? Outdated identity management there is seen as a huge cost center.
Yeah.
It leads to significant friction for customers, really high abandonment rates during that often frustrating onboarding process. And all those manual checks, they're both painfully slow and incredibly expensive.
Exactly. And what these examples, across both healthcare and finance highlight is
Mhm.
we've hit that breaking point. Incremental fixes just aren't going to cut it anymore.
Right. So here's where it gets really interesting. The transformative solution that's being proposed is IAM 3.0, and it's fundamentally powered by self-sovereign identity, SSI. So instead of relying on those centralized directories and, frankly, fragile federations we have now, we're moving towards a decentralized trust model, one where digital credentials are, get this, issued once by trusted sources, held securely by you, the user, and then verified anywhere.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, what SSI essentially allows is for both people and organizations to carry verifiable, cryptographically signed credentials, usually in a secure mobile digital wallet. And this represents a really fundamental shift in thinking. Identity stops being about, who's in my directory, and it profoundly transforms into, okay, which verifiable credential did this person just present? Who issued it? And crucially, does it meet the policy I need right now?
That is a powerful shift. So, okay, to really get our heads around how this works, what are the fundamental building blocks of SSI? Can you help us unpack those? Maybe, skipping the super deep technical jargon so it's clear what you, the listener, would actually be interacting with.
Absolutely. And the core components are actually quite elegant, I think, even though the tech underneath is robust. First up, we have decentralized identifiers, or DIDs. Think of these as a permanent, user-owned digital address for you. An identifier that's not tied to any single company's database. It's a bit like having a unique, unchangeable email address that you fully control. It lets anyone who needs to check a claim find the public keys they need to cryptographically verify it.
Okay, a unique user-owned address. Got it. What's next?
Next are verifiable credentials, or VCs. These are basically digitally signed facts or attestations about you. So, for example, a university could issue a VC proving you have a degree, or a government agency could issue one confirming you're, say, over 18 or a resident of New Jersey.
Mm.
Now, when someone needs to verify that fact, they just check the issuer's digital signature, and they trust the claim because they trust the issuer. Simple as that, really.
Digitally signed facts from trusted sources.
Okay.
And the third piece.
Finally, the digital wallet. This is a secure app, usually in your smartphone, maybe your computer, where you securely hold and manage all your DIDs and VCs. Now, the critical part here is that you, the user, decide what information to share, when you share it, and with whom. This is called selective disclosure. So instead of handing over your entire driver's license just to prove your age at a bar, you could present only the cryptographic proof that says, yes, I am over 18, keeping all your other personal details, like your address, completely private.
So it's about being really precise, surgically precise with your data. And this also allows for something called zero-knowledge proofs, right? What exactly are those? Why are they so important for privacy?
That's right, zero-knowledge proofs, or ZK proofs. They're a fantastic privacy feature, really powerful. They let you confirm a specific claim like, I am a resident of New Jersey, or I am over 18, without actually exposing the underlying sensitive data itself. So no need to show your full address or your exact birth date. It's a bit like proving you have the key to a door without ever showing the key or letting anyone peek inside. It minimizes the data shared, which vastly improves your privacy and, crucially, builds stronger trust between you and the service you're interacting with.
Okay, this sounds like way more than just cool tech. It genuinely sounds like it can drive measurable value. You mentioned shifting identity from a cost center. This sounds like it could actually be a growth engine for businesses.
Precisely. And that's what our research consistently shows, truly significant business impacts. And these translate directly into clear benefits for you, the individual, and for organizations too. Let me give you a few examples. First, reduced friction and higher conversion. Imagine onboarding for a new service that feels as easy as checking out online, completing tasks in seconds, not days or weeks. When friction drops like that, conversion rates for services rise dramatically.
Less hassle, more signups. Makes sense.
Exactly. Then there's enhanced security posture. Common threats like phishing scams or credential reuse, they lose a lot of their power. Because access now requires fresh, issuer-signed claims that are cryptographically tied to your unique identity. Can't easily fake those. And the overall attack surface shrinks because you have fewer big identity honeypots. These massive databases storing all your personal data in one place, just waiting to be breached.
Right, distributing the risk.
Precisely. Then, lower operating costs. This model means fewer manual checks, a drastic reduction in help desk tickets for things like forgotten passwords, and frees up capital for actual innovation. We're seeing examples in the research of up to 80% faster processing in some cases, and around 40% lower administrative costs.
Wow, those are significant numbers.
They really are. And then there's compliance by design. This is huge for regulated industries, your whole who, what, why, when story for any sensitive action. It essentially writes itself. Every critical interaction can be tied back to a verifiable presentation. It makes audit evidence instantly provable for regulators. Imagine an auditor asking, who granted John access to this system, when, and why? With SSI, you can instantly present cryptographic proof. HR issued John an employee VC on this date, authorizing this specific access per policy, and the system verified it at this exact time. The who, what, why, when is instantly provable. That cuts audit time dramatically.
That sounds like a game changer for compliance teams.
Absolutely. And finally, ecosystem plays unlock. This is where that growth engine idea really comes into play. The same digital wallet can securely carry your loyalty status, your insurance proofs, or verified attributes needed to redeem partner benefits, maybe across different companies. This can foster entirely new business models and cross-sector collaborations, all without building fragile one-off integrations. It's about expanding markets and reaching new customers with unprecedented levels of trust.
So, okay, summing that up. SSI really means faster, safer, cheaper, and fundamentally more private digital interactions. It almost sounds too good to be true, like a complete no-brainer. But what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's dive into some concrete cross-industry examples that our sources highlight. Let's start back in healthcare. One key area is the provider lifecycle. Credentialing without the endless paper chase. Anyone who's worked in healthcare knows this pain. Credentialing for doctors and nurses is often a nightmare. It drags on for weeks, sometimes months. Each hospital makes them recollect and resubmit the same exact documents over and over and over again. It's incredibly frustrating for clinicians, and it delays crucial patient care.
It's a huge source of friction.
So how does the IAM 3.0 pattern fix this?
All right, so in this new model, the issuers are the trusted sources. Medical schools, state licensing boards, specialty certification bodies. They issue verifiable credentials, these digitally signed proofs of your degree, your active license, your board certifications. Clinicians store these VCs securely, just once, in their digital wallet. Then, when applying for privileges at a new hospital or clinic, they simply present the required cryptographic proofs from their wallet. The system verifies these signatures instantly. No more phone tag chasing down transcripts, no more endless PDFs flying back and forth.
And the impact. What does that mean in practice?
Well, the numbers we saw suggest this translates into up to 80% faster processing for credentialing
80%.
and around 40% lower administrative costs for the healthcare organizations. And for the clinicians themselves, it means much faster time to privilege. They can start seeing patients and generating revenue for the facility much sooner. It leads to happier clinicians and ultimately better, faster care.
That's a clear win-win. Okay, another great healthcare example you mentioned was the self-sovereign patient. Check in once, get care everywhere. We all know this pain point too, right? Clunky patient portal signups, those endless, confusing consent forms that seem slapped together, and audit trails for who accessed your data that are often incomplete or just don't quite exist.
Yeah, the patient experience is often fragmented.
So what's the IAM 3.0 pattern here?
Here, you, as the patient, could get a reusable health ID credential, perhaps verified once by your trusted primary care provider or maybe even a government source. Then, when you need to register with a new specialist, a new telehealth service, or a pharmacy, you use your digital wallet. It becomes a one-tap proof instead of that repetitive knowledge-based authentication, what was your first pet's middle name, or uploading photos of your insurance card again. And consent becomes incredibly granular and time-boxed. So, for example, you could grant permission like, allow this specific specialist to view only my cardiology records for the next 30 days. Full control.
Wow, that level of control is really missing today. And the impact for me, the patient.
It means significantly less friction when onboarding with new providers, especially for things like telehealth. It builds increased trust and engagement because you know who's seeing your data and why. And it makes things like consenting to share anonymized data for medical research much easier and more transparent. And maybe best of all, you finally stop uploading the same insurance card and medical history forms across different providers ever again.
Hallelujah to that.
These healthcare examples really show the power, I think. And the same principles apply just as powerfully to financial services. Massive value there, too. Let's look at WAM, that's Workforce Identity and Access Management, specifically for managing employees versus contractors.
Okay, what's the pain point there?
Today's pain. Onboarding new staff, whether full-time or contract, often involves frustrating delays in getting them system access they need to actually do their job. And maybe even worse, offboarding often leaves behind orphaned access accounts, old employee accounts that still have active permissions, creating serious security risks.
Right, a ticking time bomb.
Exactly. So the IAM 3.0 pattern, your HR department or maybe the contracting agency issues an employee VC or a contractor VC directly to the individual's mobile wallet. For their very first login to any company system, they just present a proof from their wallet. The system verifies it instantly, cryptographically, and grants them the exact entitlements defined for that role or contract. And offboarding, it becomes a simple revocation of that credential by HR. No more frantic ticket hunting across dozens of systems to disable accounts. Access is just gone.
And the impact of that.
It translates to day one access for employees. They're productive immediately. No more orphaned access vulnerabilities lingering after someone leaves. And again, you get an audit that writes itself. Every access grant is tied to a verifiable credential. Contractors can become immediately productive without compromising security because their access can be automatically time-boxed and is tied to these verifiable, unalterable proofs.
Very efficient, very secure. Okay, what about the customer side in finance? CIM, customer identity and access management, particularly around KYC.
Yes, KYC, know your customer. A necessary process, but often a painful one. Today's pain. How many times have you or someone you know started signing up for a new bank account or maybe an investment service only to abandon it? Usually because you're asked to upload fuzzy pictures of your ID, manually type out your address yet again, and then wait, sometimes days, for a manual review. Meanwhile, fraud teams are constantly tightening controls, which often just slows down legitimate customers even more.
Yeah, that friction is real. How does SSI help?
So the IAM 3.0 pattern. Imagine your banking app simply asks your digital wallet for proof of government ID and maybe a verified address. You get a notification on your phone, you review the request, and you approve it with a tap. The bank instantly verifies the digital signatures from the trusted issuers, say, the DMV for the ID, maybe the post office for the address in real time. Barring any unusual red flags, the account can open without scans and callbacks. Instantly.
Wow. So the impact for me as a customer.
Instant trust, instant account. It dramatically speeds things up, and it squeezes fraud rings because it's incredibly difficult, bordering on impossible, to fake these issuer-signed, holder-bound, verifiable credentials at scale. Plus, remember selective disclosure. You only shared just that claim. Needed maybe just proof you're over 18 or proof of residency in a certain state, keeping other details private. And think about loyalty programs. They could leverage your VCs with your permission, of course, to instantly unlock benefits with partners without you needing separate logins or cards.
These examples really do bring SSI to life. They show how it moves from, theory and slideware to tangible real-world throughput. It really seems poised to make our digital lives significantly easier, faster, and definitely more secure. So the big question then is, how do organizations actually implement something this transformative? It sounds potentially massive, but our sources, they seem to offer a clear, staged roadmap, right? Making it maybe more approachable than it first sounds.
That's right. It's not a boil-the-ocean approach. It's pragmatic. Phase 1, maybe the first 1 to 6 months, pick a beachhead. Start small. Pick a high-friction but controllable internal journey, like that provider credentialing example in healthcare we talked about, or maybe contractor onboarding in financial services. The goal here is simple. Prove the speed and cost wins internally to earn the right to scale. Get some quick wins.
Okay, start internal, prove the value. What's phase 2?
Phase 2, maybe months 6 to 18. Build your trust network and align to open standards. This is where you start recruiting key partners. Think about forming credentialing networks with those trusted issuers. And crucially, aligning to open standards. This is really important. We're talking about foundational specs like W3C, VC, and DDI2 for the credentials and identifiers themselves. That ensures global interoperability. Then there are protocols like OID4 VCI and OID4 VP for securely exchanging these credentials between wallets and relying parties. And potentially domain-specific standards too, like HL7 FHIR for healthcare data, or maybe TEFCA guidelines for secure health info exchange in the US. Using these open standards means you're building on globally recognized frameworks, not getting locked into proprietary silos. It drastically reduces integration risk, and it pre-wires you for future data exchange across entire ecosystems.
So build the network, use the open standards to avoid lock-in. Makes sense.
And this pragmatic, phased approach ensures that the benefits start accruing to the first movers relatively quickly. Our sources really stress the importance, though, of building guardrails throughout. This means defining really clear policies up front. Which issuers will we accept credentials from? What do the credential schemas need to look like? What are the SLAs for revocation if a credential needs to be canceled? How will users recover their wallets if they lose their phone? The idea is to build that compliance narrative early, be regulator-ready from day one, show that the who, what, why, when story is always just a query away, baked into the system.
Right, think about the governance from the start, and then finally...
Then phase 3, maybe from 18 months onwards. Go patient-facing or customer-facing. This is where you really launch those game-changing experiences we discussed. Passwordless logins using wallets, one-click telehealth consultations, instant account opening. But the key here, according to the sources, is to frame this as true empowerment for your patients and customers. It's not just back-end plumbing, it's giving them control and convenience. That ensures they feel the tangible difference, the real benefit, quickly.
Okay, that roadmap makes it feel much more achievable. Beachhead, build the network with standards, then scale to the customer. It's really clear from our deep dive today that identity management, well, it can continue to be this drain on budgets, stalling innovation in patient care. Or it can evolve to become the most reliable, least visible part of our digital lives. Self-sovereign identity, anchored by these verifiable credentials in digital wallets, following this IAM 3.0 model, it really offers organizations a pragmatic, proven way to cut identity friction, prove compliance by design, and genuinely turn every access decision into a positive business outcome.
Absolutely. The playbook, as we've discussed, is pretty well defined now, and the underlying standards are stable and robust. They're ready. Our sources are very clear on this point. The risk of waiting is ceding the user experience to competitors. Leaders who choose to move first at meaningful scope, they won't just capture market share. They will fundamentally set the experience bar for everyone else. They'll define the future of trusted digital interaction.
And for you, the listener, what this all points towards is a future with significantly less friction in your online life, much more control over your personal data, and ultimately greater trust in all your online interactions. Just imagine truly never having to upload the same document twice, ever again, having granular control over who sees which piece of your data and for how long, and experiencing truly instant, secure onboarding across all the services you use. It's quite a compelling vision.
It really is. And perhaps this raises an important final question for you to ponder. In a world where your digital identity is increasingly inextricably intertwined with your real-world identity, how much more valuable, how much more secure would your life be if you were truly the sovereign owner of your own personal, verifiable facts, deciding what to share, when to share it, and with whom, rather than relying on dozens of disparate, vulnerable systems that hold pieces of you today?
Something to definitely think about. That's it for this deep dive. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to exploring more fascinating topics with you next time.